Hello, and how's everyone doing in the Galactic Family tonight? Man, we got a good one going tonight. Tonight we have Sylvain Rochon. Tonight on the Galactic Family Podcast, we welcome Sylvain, a revolutionary and visionary leader and North American spokesperson for the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact. He's helping spearhead the boldest initiative of our time, the creation of the Earth's first official ET embassy, a place designed to welcome peaceful civilizations from beyond our world. This is more than just a theory, it's a global movement. And on ET Embassy Day, which is starting tomorrow for us, Sylvain is here to show us how we can take part, raise awareness, and be part of humanity's innovation into the stars. So get ready, stay tuned, and let's take some action. Please welcome to the stage, Sylvain. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Jay.
Um,
It's good to have you.
it's wonderful to have you on this wonderful day. I know it's ET Embassy Day where you are, but it won't be until tomorrow for us.
Well, the ET Embassy days, they actually, depending on the country, it's not always the same day.
Oh, okay.
So in Thailand, it is not ET Embassy Day where I am, but it is
Oh,
where you are. And in Canada, it's in April. Like, yeah. So it depends on the country. But anyway, yeah. So in
yeah,
your
all
country,
right.
you have an ET Embassy Day. You can look it
Yeah. So,
up.
what makes ET Embassy Day such a unique global call for peaceful contact then?
Well, I think ET Embassy Day, its purpose is really not that in a way. It was created it was conceptualized by the International Rallying Movement many years ago. Like as far as I know, they were the first. It was like many years ago, because I was involved at the time. And the idea was to have a way to promote the idea of having an ET embassy. That
Okay.
was the original idea. So and also to have something in the calendar to celebrate that very moment every year, to kind of promote it every year, but also, I mean, there was a plan already at the time to build one. So the expectation is that, well, okay, well, we carry on that tradition after the construction or during the construction, and it stays an event of celebration even post contacts, like, kind of like, say, ET Embassy Day. This is a day of celebration, kind of like putting that in the calendar. So
Okay.
at first it was promotional, and eventually it became like a flag, right? A rallying flag for the concept for lots of organizations.
Oh, that's wonderful. So,
Yeah.
how do the official protocols differ then from traditional diplomatic strategies here on Earth that we do?
What do you mean with ETs?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The Well, here's the thing. It's like our interactions with extraterrestrials now is very personal, or at least most of it. You have individuals that have contact, right? Usually they're given missions or messages and so on. So in a way, that's diplomacy, and it's direct contact with individuals, not with officials that are designated by humanity, and that is kind of special, because you'd expect from sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
ET comes up, right, and the military is like mobilized, like, oh, this is maybe a threat, like, kind of thing, and then ET comes out. It's like, take me to your leader, right? It's very
A
very
Mars attacks kind of
typical,
thing.
old school, like, that kind of thing. And then there's it's a lead. Typically, it's a leader of a country, like the U.S. or wherever the film set up, and they have a conversation, and then, stuff happens because it's a movie, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's a plot. Um, that ain't the way it's gonna happen. the we in our way of doing things with embassies, right? It's like you have a country that establishes an embassy in agreement with another country, and the country A says, "I want an embassy in my territory," so they carve out an extraterritorial territory land, and that land belongs to the country B, to the guest country, as well as the embassy in it, and it says, "Okay, when we wanted to have diplomatic contact, diplomatic missions, this is a place we're going to meet." So it's inside our territory, but it's your territory, and then we go and visit you in your land, and it's very practical because it's very close. It's often inside the city, right? That's the way we do it. But with ETs, what happens is that, well, it's not a country, and so we want to have that contact with your leader kind of concept, and you want to do it the same way, then you have to carve out a piece of land, but it's to a civilization, not a country. So it's a bit different. And, there's no ETs that will be here kind of like caretaking. So we're going to be doing the caretaking in land. So there's differences. The hope is that they will come down to that embassy officially, because that's the agreed upon place where diplomatic missions occur.
Okay.
And we'll designate some leaders to go and visit them. And presumably, there's going to be a heavy seat at the table for the host country that actually sets it up, right? So there's similarities and some differences.
Okay, no, I can totally understand that, because on Earth we have different countries and different territories, but we're not talking about Earth. We're talking about an entire race of beings that are coming.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't classify them under anything other than what they are, under one classification. It wouldn't be many, or it could be, but we need one place for them to all to come to, so that we can have this conversation.
Right. And this is really for us. This is for us. They don't operate that way anymore. They're way ahead of us in the timeline, like technologically and socially. They have different structures and different ways of seeing things. But we're the primitives here. We're the one figuring stuff out. And we work with embassies. This is something we understand. We have the Vienna Convention, which is a set of rules about what kind of protections are surrounding a diplomat and an embassy. And we're leveraging that at the Alliance to give ETs the same kind of protections as diplomats, so diplomatic immunity, right?
I got you.
And embassies are something we understand, so we're building one so that we are not as prone to act like idiots. And it's like we understand, all the countries understand this is an embassy for ETs. When they come, it's like, okay, like we set it up, we know the rules, and makes it easy for us. They can do anything they want with us. Like they're all around us. They can communicate in any way at time. They'll most likely communicate through the embassy out of respect for how we do things and how we see and how we operate.
We come peacefully and they come peacefully, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like we open our arms and our hearts and say, here's some place for us to meet, neutral, that as soon as you get here, stewardship goes to you. And now we have a place that we can meet neutral. Everything goes and jump starts for the human race.
Right. And even then, like, think about it, it's not going to be entirely neutral.
Well, yeah, true. It won't be, but it'll be.
But it's the best we can do.
Neutral for us.
Yeah, it's the best we can do. I guess a better way or a better location to build a totally neutral embassy would be in open waters, right? Like in the middle of the Pacific, where nobody owns the water. But that's super impractical.
Well, have you ever thought about building it in space?
Sure. But again, very impractical.
Yeah, I know.
Right? But yeah, these are options where, because you build it inside a territory, like let's say it's in the US, right?
Okay.
It's imagine it's in the US. Okay, it's a land for the ET, but it's surrounded by American soil. So guess who's going to be at the table? Of course, the Americans are.
Well, yeah.
If it's a different country, it's going to be that country, and they'll they may or may not invite other dignitaries. So it's going to be a bit like the movie is in a way, as like the primary people at the table, or all the people at the table in that first contact, are going to be from that host nation.
Okay.
So that's why it's not entirely like representative of humanity, but I mean, you got to start somewhere with something. And my hypothesis is that that's going to be the starting point. And in further, they're going to inform us, speculation entirely, right? From my part, this is just my thinking, because they want to talk to humanity. They don't want to just talk to one country, right? They'll be broadcasting this to everybody. They will. So to avoid any kind of closed doors situations and all that stuff. And I could bet after that first contact, nearly every country is going to build one. It's like, okay, we want them. And ET is going to be way more, if they broadcast to everybody, they're going to be more comfortable to communicate with people in general directly. So they may do some of that as well.
We will become less fearful of them as well, and they will become less fearful of us if we mingle together in a neutral setting.
Right. Yeah, it's got to start somewhere where you reduce that fear so that you don't have that knee-jerk reaction that we have when we don't understand something.
Yes.
And human beings, that's the negative part of human beings, or one of them, right? Like you have to have that reaction of fear of the unknown. But after you get used to something, it takes very, very little time for us to be real comfortable with it. And that's on the positive. So after imagine this, right? First contact. Yeah. The media talks about it for 2 weeks straight. Like that's all they're going to be talking about, right?
Yeah. And
then somebody prominent dies, like some kind of other drama. Now, it's been 2 weeks. Now they shift to that, and everybody's after 6 months. Yeah, everybody's talking about ETs like it was yesterday's news, and it's just normal all of a sudden.
So why then is it important to invite the ET civilizations rather than wait for disclosure of some sort, which still waiting on the trust me bro thing from everyone else? Like, oh, we have it, trust me, show me please. Like, come on, I can't do any more trust me bros. So is it better to invite or wait for disclosure, which I already know probably what you're going to say?
Well, the thing is, they're waiting for us. So, and of course, there's a past. There's things that we've that are undisclosed from the past experiences and contact.
Yeah,
and that kind of thing. So yeah, we are waiting for that to happen. But they're waiting for us to be ready. They're monitoring. So that moment of readiness, we're not sure exactly where that is, because it's on them, right, to decide like if we're ready. They know the history.
Yeah.
They know what's happening now and where we're at. So when they come, presumably when they come, it's because we are pacific about it. We're ready for it. Ready enough, at least. We won't. It won't cause any massive problems between nations, right? Because that's the fear. The main fear of an ET contact is not the ETs. The main fear from experts out there that pondered on there was a big grouping about a year ago, and to evaluate the risks of that first contact, and the major risk, the top and by far major risk, is conflict between nations of Earth, because they all want to have access to technology, the knowledge. It's competitive, right?
It's always been about that. Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. That's the core problem is greed, selfishness, and control of assets.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. I was a military guy. You control your assets and you don't let certain people know about them. But do you think we're being led down a path with disclosure that's more like they're giving us little bits and pieces here and there to get us ready? Or is it like just it'll be catastrophic disclosure and just show up 100 ships in the air and just show us like, here we are?
Yeah, it's well, here's my theory about what we'll understand from full disclosure, right? And mind you, like there's some people will never be satisfied. They're always going to think there's more that's hidden, that is undisclosed. Like that's hard to say, like how much is still hidden, if any. But my assumption is that what's being hidden is not that massive. I think there's some bits and pieces that are missing from the puzzle that's undisclosed right now that are important. But my gut feel, and also like some analysis, is that what we'll discover with complete disclosure of our past is not going to be mind-blowing. I think it's going to be interesting, but it won't change the world. It won't change our perception of things. I think they're going to be fairly unsurprising. I can give you like a broad example. I think we'll discover that there's been plenty of contact with humans and ETs in the past. Some of it was negative, so like negative impressions, and human beings were hurt, that kind of thing. Some of it is going to be in that nature. A lot of it is going to be just discussions and negotiations and peaceful contact or neutral contact. Most of it is going to be that category. There's going to be very little like sharing of technology or drop of massive technology, and that can actually be proven. There's a lot of discussion. Well, ET left or crashed or did certain things, and then that produced technology that we see now, that we have. And you can disprove that. You can prove every technology we've ever had or developed. You can show the path of discovery and research in human hands. You don't need to include ETs in there.
No, you don't.
So that's why I'm thinking, like, yeah, we're going to find some stuff out, but it's not going to help us overly in what we're trying to achieve. It's going to be interesting, but I don't think it's going to be mind-blowing. The real mind-blowing things is going to be when we have first contact itself with the embassy. What will they tell us? What would they show us? And the development of trust you mentioned. That's going to be way more percussive.
Just the realization of the nature of the universe and reality itself would probably blow everyone's mind open.
Yeah. But then again, you enter a situation of, like, let's pull from science fiction, because you have some good ones.
Sure.
This is from Roddenberry, Earth Final Conflict. I don't know if you remember that show.
Yes, I do. That was a TV show, right?
TV series.
Yeah,
right?
I remember that.
By Roddenberry. It was really cool. You have ETs that show up. Like, this is the broad plot, like really quick. ETs show up. They say, we're here in peace. And there's interactions. And it does transform the human society. But underneath it all, you see ETs have internal conflicts. They have ulterior motives. There's all these political things going on, and then humanity is involved in that. I think that's not far from what we may see, because we see ETs and ET civilizations in a very narrow focus. We say, well, are they good or are they bad? They're both. They are people. They're going to have some people on their side that have different ideas about what humanity interaction should be. And, they have bad actors. We have bad actors. They have good ones. We have good ones. It's going to be an interesting time.
It definitely is. I'll throw one at you. I'll throw two at you that I like from the 1980s. Okay.
Okay.
Batteries not included.
Sure.
And Flight of the Navigator.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Living spaceship, like,
yeah,
that was out of its time for that time, but they're giving us bits and pieces in the movies, in just so that if this ever happened to us, we get on a living spaceship starts talking to us, we're like,
Mhm.
oh, this is like the movie. And then we
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
think it's so scary.
yeah. I think sci-fi has done a great job giving us a bunch of scenarios, right?
Yeah.
And some people have said, and this could be true, that some sci-fi plots came from inspiration and perhaps even channel in contact with ETs in some cases.
Roddenberry from Star Trek.
Yeah,
They had a lot of dealings with government officials in their dealings with their series.
and it's been. I mean, I refer Star Trek a lot because it's a good example of what we may expect
Yeah.
as a humanity, like without contact. Actually, and we don't need contact for this, but the like for the how humanity lives in the Federation, like in this in the series. That's in our future with AI, and you talk about living ships and like, well, AI is a new emerging sentience. If we want to build it that sophisticated, then we will. Obviously, we will do that. And we have robots, and like, yeah, so that becomes kind of a living ship, if you will. It could be organic, it could be mechanical, and then you have the Federation in Star Trek, which already exists out there. We're just not a member yet, because we're too young and primitive just yet. But yeah, there's a bunch of civilizations out there that have different ideals, different locations. There are some really good parallels that we can pull from to give us an idea of what humanity could be and
Oh
what it
yeah.
could be like to be with other civilizations in space. I mean, there's a lot of fiction and plot organizing in Star Trek to make it interesting. I think there's way more conflict and war in Star Trek that is actually happening out there because it makes it interesting and gives you some plot. But there's plenty of episodes in Star Trek where there is no military conflict. It's just social interaction and sharing of ideas and figuring stuff out. Because they're so different, right?
Yeah. And I'm gonna bring this up because I gotta say something. All right, Dominator. I've got an answer for you on this one. Look anywhere in history. Look at the Egyptians. They ruled by their religion and they treated their subordinates as their slaves. Was it right? No. Did it evolve over time? Yes. Civilization evolves. So I do agree that first contact is going to be rough. However, if we all come to it in a peaceful manner, it wouldn't be as rough. Who it doesn't matter. Say the first race that does come down is a non-peaceful race. Okay, say they are, and they visit the ET embassy and they're non-peaceful. You don't think that a peaceful race is out there looking at the same time at that evil race coming down to this peaceful planet, and they would do something. I have a
Yeah.
feeling something would happen. They would come down and say, step in the middle and say, hold on a minute, it's neutral. And they would try to do something about it. I don't think everything is out to get us, as everyone has made it seem. There is some things that are going to be rough when it first happens, religious, economic,
Mhm.
but we're going to get through it. Look what happened. Like I said, Egyptians, you have that symbol right on your, on your thing. You should know all about this. They treated them with their religious and they oppressed them, but they grew. That's how we
Yeah.
do.
I love ancient history
Yeah,
myself.
me too.
So dominatrix, I think that's a great discussion point. In if you because archaeologists are on this too, right? Like they kind of discover a bunch of things, and I follow that as well. When you look at the mythology, right, the Egyptian mythology,
Yeah.
and some of the stories that emerge, like that are written about interactions. Yeah, they definitely had slaves. Heck, like humanity had slaves in most nations until 150 years ago. So slavery was normal for a long time. So that's one thing. So there are different classes of people, including slaves, in every nation, everywhere. And the leadership, the pharaohs, were treated as gods. That's not unusual. The Japanese emperor, which still exists, is seen as God, or at least was a descendant of.
Yes.
But in the Second World War, he was seen as a godly being. It's not unusual, even in modern times, to have those. But back then, the assumption, or at least what I think was going on, is that they did have direct interactions with ETs that were seen as gods. They had multiple interactions, some good, some bad. If you look at the stories of the Egyptian pantheon, the Greek pantheon, the Roman pantheon, basically similar stories with different names of the probably same people, really. So they had conflicts with each other. They had made babies with human children. They didn't have the same opinion. They fought each other at times, that kind of thing. ETs are people, right? And but they were seen as gods. We had so much more technology and access. And when they were interacting at the time, they were interacting with people. I'm not so sure they were seen as much as gods as they did a generation later when they left. Because you have a certain relationship when you're directly interacting with a person. Okay, they have all this tech. They are more capable. You may have some kind of understanding. They're powerful. Be careful, that kind of thing. But when they left, one generation later, that's when I think they started being seen more and more as godly beings and became more and more mystified because they were not there to interact with them anymore.
Okay.
So I think it's a bit fuzzy, and I'm very curious to get like a video reel or some history about what exactly happened back then, because this is all speculation. But the archaeologists, when they bring up like the structures and things like that, and the bones and the different elements, the story that those specifically tell is not that the people of Egypt, for example, were oppressed. The slaves were treated as slaves. Yeah, of course, that was common.
They were workers,
but there was not the society was not as oppressed as you'd think from older stories. It seems like it was more of a normality, just like anywhere else. And it was not great living by then, because that was, we're doing much better now.
Yeah, it was like a class system, pretty much. It was like there's the worker class, but you're still getting fed. You still have a house, a family, whatever. Go to work every day. But then there's others that are more prestigious that get.
And they had a lot better food. And the slaves in most cultures, including in Egypt, the slaves were not treated that badly. Like the slaves were treated much worse in the States and the plantations than they were in Egypt. They were a class of citizens, and they were treated lowly, but they were part of society. They were included in the society. Yes. The slaves in the U.S. and the plantations, that kind of story, that's what we have in mind about slavery. Those slaves were treated way worse. They were treated as animals.
Yeah, those are oppressed people.
They were oppressed. Yeah, the Roman slaves, the Romans had more slaves than the nobles. They were not treated like second-class citizens. Well, actually, no, that's true. They were treated like second-class citizens, but they were treated
gladiators were treated better.
Gladiators were celebrated. They were famous. It's not what we think. Modern slavery, the last vestiges of slavery, was worse. They were treated like animals, not like people. Slaves back then were treated like people, just the lower rung of the civilization. They still had rights.
Exactly.
Which is amazing, because 2,000, 3,000 years ago, slaves were treated better than slaves were treated 150 years ago. Anyway, so
it devolved.
Anyway, so that's off topic. We can go at it for a bit, but definitely ETs that come here, the slaves they have are robotic, or programmed.
Exactly.
They're machines, and they have sentient. They have biological robots and mechanical robots of different shapes. We have self-driving cars, right? So the navigator spaceship, not that far off.
Right? I know that.
Like you can, that's a spaceship. So it's a vehicle that has an AI in it that's sentient. So it's a bit more evolved AI, and it's semi-organic, perhaps. Like I don't know what it's made of. We're like self-driving cars is not a far cry from that. It's a car just telling you what to go, and it has some kind of reasoning, and it brings you where you need to go. So, we're through our own technology, we're figuring out a little bit some of the ET technologies that may be out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's more or less what can we do? Like, okay, we have everything put into place. So how are the protocols defined when it comes to the ethical and safety considerations also of like first contact?
Again, in a practical sense, we're following again on the Vienna Convention for this and the rules.
Okay.
Around that, an embassy has, like, the land itself is somebody else's. So so we understand the rules of land, but so also the airspace above it
as well.
Yeah, the airspace above it also, right? Because there's airspace consideration. So you can't go and fly over an embassy's land with a military jet, for example, right? That kind of thing, because that's your that's their airspace, not yours. So it becomes your kind of invasory. So these are things that are part of the protections, because you're established that. Now, in this case, for an ET embassy, it's different again because it's not a country, so the rules don't apply the same way. That's why we have what's called an optional protocol. This is a document that can be attached to the Vienna Convention that modifies its language, and that's the way it's organized for the Vienna Convention. You can't ratify the convention itself because it was established in 1969. 200 some nations ratified it. It took years to do that. If you want to modify that document, you have to get 200 nations to agree to it. Like it takes forever. It won't happen, right? But they have a mechanism inside there. It's like, well, you can add an optional protocol that nations can decide to opt in or not on the protocol itself. So you can sign up on it.
Okay, that's like an amendment to it.
It's like an amendment, but it's optional. You don't have to adhere to it for the whole document to apply.
Yeah, it's like certain countries can apply to it and certain countries don't. They don't want to do it. Yeah.
And that's how they manage like the problem of having 200 people to agree to everything.
I would too.
And that's a problem. So that's a mechanism where you can modify the Vienna Convention for the differences between this situation and a normal embassy between two countries that discuss, right?
Okay.
So there's language in what we're proposing as an optional protocol for discussion at a convention that establishes the similar rights and securities for an ET civilization that comes to an embassy like this, including the airspace, the diplomatic immunity, classification of them as being diplomats, so they have the diplomatic immunity without being human, because non-humans don't have any rights on Earth.
No,
animals have stated rights. Animals have stated rights in each country, but the countries don't have laws that say, okay, ETs have these rights. There's nothing, right? So if you're a diplomat, automatically, it doesn't matter what kind of person you are. If you're classified as a diplomat, you have diplomatic immunity, right? And that's how you safeguard the individuals under those rules. Okay. So these are the mechanisms of safety. From military intervention, that's a bit trickier.
Yeah, I was about to ask, worst case scenario, if You know, you have a country that says, let's say, I'm just going to hypothetical. Greenland says, "Hey, you can have this land over here. We're an island. You can make the embassy here in Greenland."
Yeah.
And the U.S. says, "Yeah, go ahead, go ahead." And we're waiting back here, and they make the embassy, and we're like, we're moving in. What is the worst case scenario if the military decides to get involved like that?
That's a really interesting question, and I've been pondering and talking about this for more recently, actually, because it would be a mess. But the ETs themselves, I don't think they'll have any problem. And this is what, again, this is just my thoughts here.
Well, if they can read telepathic thoughts, then they're going to know the thoughts of the people that are against them being peaceful here.
Well, I mean, we are a monitored planet.
Yeah,
and their monitoring is we don't know what it is. Like, we can't feel it. We're not notified by it, because they, just like you don't know that you are being seen by satellite, right? Like, we're being seen, observed by satellite all the time. And if a specific country that has a satellite wants to know exactly what you had for breakfast, it can. Okay, and you won't know about it, right? They are way more advanced than that, right?
They're accurate down to about 10
they
10
see
inches,
everything.
I think.
Yeah. So that's one part. Like, if the military has an intention to do something, they probably know about it. If they don't know about it, they'll see the movements. They have way better satellites than us. Let's call it that, right? And we won't know that they know. That's number one. Let's imagine that we're past that, and the military moves in, ET comes. Do you think they will come with their personal bodies at the embassy, knowing that there's crackpots and militaries and things like that could just do some crazy stuff? Think about the Navigator movie, right?
Yeah.
We can do this almost today. They will, like, you remember the movie Surrogates? I don't know if you're familiar with that one, Bruce Willis, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they're in a pod somewhere, like at home, and they have a lifelike surrogate that represents like remote control. That's one way. Or, like, clone their body. They have a clone consciousness. AI is in there. Send that. A drone, basically. They're doing, and they're just capturing the records of the meeting, right? Safely in their home planet. And something happens to the body gets shot. Like, hey, it's okay. It's just a drone.
Yeah. It's right? Also, like Dominator said, the military is thinking of in terms of guns, ammunition, bombs, whatever, and they're ineffective completely. Like they could literally land and be like, "Go ahead, do something," and it wouldn't happen.
If something of theirs gets destroyed, or some body they can reconstruct or destroyed, it's because they don't care it gets destroyed. Like, otherwise they'll avoid it, disappear. How many instances we've seen of UAPs, like real, like, ET UAPs, how they navigate, how they move, appear, disappear seemingly at a whim. Yeah, missiles can't hit that. Okay, like, so if they want to be shot down because they want to make a point, they want to us to see our own mess, they'll let it. But nobody of them is getting hurt. Even if you find bodies in there, they're drones.
Yeah, exactly.
Stories of bodies
programmed.
Stories of bodies that were recovered, like Roswell stories and things like that. And you read about the interaction they had with the survivors. It's like they're like not even there. Like the ETs are kind of like blank. They don't have, like, what do you think those are? They are what you're seeing. They are bodies that were put there with basic consciousness, and it creates stories. It makes all sorts of movies.
So does that mean that? Well, does that mean that? Okay, I'm gonna put a question out there.
Yeah.
So some people believe that we're the only ones that have the emotions and everything right now. Let's cancel that for a second and let's go a little bit further. If they are really programmed organic bodies and they're just piloting them, they can program them not to feel anything. So that doesn't necessarily mean these beings don't feel anything. It's just what they bring here doesn't feel anything.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they can
Yeah.
feel.
What,
They
what
have
we what
feelings.
we see on Earth can be a real ET making
Yes.
a visit. It can be a hologram. Could be like a clone
Organic
drone, a
program
surrogate,
body.
like anything you can imagine.
Yeah.
You have to think of it from their perspective. Why would they risk their own primary consciousness, let's call it,
Yeah.
and having the trouble of traveling, landing there, and be among us? That's risky, right? If you can do it, and we get fooled, they can do it
Yeah.
any other way, and we're fooled. We don't know the difference. That's way safer. And like they have, some of these civilizations have a million years plus ahead of us,
Oh,
or at least a few
definitely.
thousand years in advance. If we can imagine the technology that how we could do it today, they can do way better. So yeah, let's not fool ourselves. Like, we are the primitives. What we're seeing is not what we're seeing.
No.
It's when we start having actual conversation, they start teaching us, like, down the line, like openly. Then we'll learn. We'll adapt. Like, we'll learn what's possible and what they're doing, blah blah blah, over time. But right now, everything we're experiencing, including what we'll discover in disclosure, is probably all arranged for us to have these conversations to prepare us. It's all intentional.
Yeah.
And you have some bad actors that probably did a few bad things, and there is record of that. They created some pain and some suffering with some individuals, but that's a minority. But they all have ETs. ET civilizations also have their jerks.
Well, yeah. It's just like anyone. Like you have someone you don't entirely like, but you have to put up with them.
Yeah. And I have the privilege in the Alliance to have close associates and volunteers that are channeling. They're talking with ETs on a daily basis. And it's really interesting because I don't have that capability. I've never had contact. I haven't seen anything in the sky. Like, I'm in my neck of the woods, I'm the oddball. Like, I'm the strange one because everybody else has seen things.
Yeah.
But the conversation, they tell us about the different races and their opinions and their culture and how they kind of behave. It's all very different from each other. But they act as a collective to bring humanity into something bigger, into a galactic federation. And the way the different races seem to behave emotionally, very different. You have some that seem to be like non-emotional, like Data in Star Trek, like kind of a little robotic, but having something, but not. And you have some that seem to be like super emotional and ecstatic. You have the variety there, and because they're all built genetically different, right? So they'll have differences, and some of them are not exactly humanoid either.
So how will nations be encouraged, though, to offer land for the ET embassy?
We're with the Alliance. What it's doing is we're catering to where people are currently in politics, for example, because it is a political decision. Right?
Yeah.
It's in a way that you have to declare it. People put their neck out. The politicians that make the decision, that assign the diplomats to go through those hoops. It is political, even though it's embassies, normal embassies. You don't never hear about them because it's very normal and right in the middle. This one is going to be politicized, guaranteed. So when we send the package to a country to establish an embassy, the message is like this: here's a project in which you will create lots of jobs.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we'll fund it. We have $50 million raised, right, for the embassy proper. Developers will jump in because it's going to be like the Giza pyramids, crop circles in England. Like, lots of tourists will come.
Yeah.
It's going to create jobs and help the economy, tourism, all that stuff. So that's the pitch, really. And then developers will build a mini city around it with gift shops and convention centers, condos, blah, 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 blah. That's pre-visit. But once the embassy starts functioning with ETs, your country is going to be the center of the world for 1,000 years, because that's going to be it. That's the pitch, right? So
that off of your website.
There you go. Yeah, that's the plan for the embassy there. So initially, like, the initial pitch is it's going to make you money, create jobs, going to be good for you politically because of that. Post contact, well, you're going to be in the history books as people that make these decisions, because it's going to be your nation that took the risk, did that first, got the first contact in, and created all that buzz with humanity. And every other second or third embassies that are going to be established in other countries will be 6, 12, 18 months in the future. You'll be the first, right?
Yeah.
First in. So that's why we have people in countries interested in discussing with us, because some people are seeing like, this is going to be good for my political career. Let's see if I can push this through. And Daniel, the president currently of the embassy, he's traveling now. I don't even know which nation he's visiting, but I know he's negotiating right now as we speak. Like, he's moving around. There's a handful of nations that are interested. We've been in contact with them for a few years, because it's a slow grind process.
It's very slow.
It's super slow. I don't even know which nation he's talking to. Like, he has a very small team dealing with that. It's all very super confidential. But he tells me about his travel plans, and generally, a couple of times, like, I was able to figure out what nation it was because of reasons. I was able to.
Well, you wouldn't even have to come on here and tell us a place. Just say it's being built, and that would just.
Well, I'll tell you something. It doesn't need to be built. You'll know before it gets built, because the country has to declare.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it's like, hey, this is what we're doing here.
Neutral.
And it's public, because it's going to be a building. Like, it's not, the people are going to notice. It's a building. It's like 4 square kilometers, right? Which is 1.5 miles by 1.5 mile, right? It's not a small piece of land somewhere. There's going to be a lot of. We need to bring contractors. Like, it's not going to be secret. No. So once a country makes the declaration, this is extraterritorial land, and we're doing this, that's a public declaration. So. And then the construction will happen after feasibility studies. So it's going to be public. We're going to let people know when the country says it. And the country will also want to have other countries say, yes, I agree this is an embassy. Right? Other countries they'll want other countries to buy in to the concepts. Like, we're building an embassy, a formal embassy. Can you guys also, as a collective, agree this is an embassy for this purpose?
And then also you'll have the residential areas and the landing pad for the ETs to come in, and the welcome center for them and for the civilians that are actually trying to come in and meet. But it'll be all on I guess a list, a confidential list of people that will be allowed to come in to see them, right? Or be open to everyone right away.
Well, part of the plan in there's some assumptions that this is how it has to be. The embassy itself, there's going to be some designated caretakers.
Yeah.
You need to take care of. There's no one there. The ETs are not there, right? So some people will have access, security card access. I can get in because it is their land. It's no longer that country's land. So there's going to be some secure concept about who's let in. The public won't be let into the embassy proper. That won't happen.
Yeah.
But so the plan is to build a smaller replica of the embassy outside for tourism.
For the greeting area and everything.
No, so people outside of the boundaries of the embassy itself, like the real embassy, because it is it is sovereign soil, not yours.
Yeah.
Right? Then you have the copy for tourism, and all the amenities are going to be outside in that small city that'll support the embassy. So you have a small amount of people are allowed in, not the public, in the real embassy as caretaking. Once the ETs come or give instruction or whatever, then that may change because it's their land.
Exactly. They make the choices then.
So but that does mean like when developers will declare, it's like, look, like we're building condos, we're pre-selling them, and they're going to be advertising the whole thing because they'll want to make money.
Oh yeah.
And so people will buy the condos and start living there, and there's going to be a bunch of, and then businesses are going to come because people need to eat, and they need entertainment. It's going to be a little city, and then tourism will come. Like it becomes a little city around it. And when contact happens, it's going to blow up, right? Like there's this whole thing is going to be like the investment in that area is going to be massive.
So I've seen most of the architecture's like circular or centered. Is that symbolic?
That's our architect's inspiration. It's like the core design or outline dates back. I forget the year, but it's like 1989, 1990.
Oh wow.
There was the people in the Raelian movement itself. They kind of had a concept. They kind of made an outline, and that was presented to a number of people. And 2 days later, this outline was seen as a crop circle in England. So we figured, it's like, all right, let's keep that then, because it seems to be like an approval stamp of the outline, like the donuts and then later on, this is like much later on, our architects took that outline and made the actual 3D design of it, and thought about the materials and how the windows would open. It's a beautiful concept that's seen as organic, but also there's the interweaving support structure is reminiscent of DNA. So that's the idea.
Okay.
And there's an ante room, kind of an entrance room. There's an airlock, right? Because the atmosphere may be different with the donut, because that's a living area for them. They may fill it up with whatever atmosphere they want. It's air sealed. There's a conference area, and there's also like a more administrative. So there's 3 smaller bubbles that have function, and the donut is a living area, and that's where they land and they can chill out in their own atmosphere, whatever they want.
I took that 3D tour on the website. That was pretty neat. That's pretty neat to like walk around and look around and stuff inside. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. Yeah,
there's been significant investment in creating the design, and we hope they like it. For them, it may be very primitive. Again, because we're the primitive ones.
Well, yeah.
But we're making it really fancy because we want it to be, this is another civilization coming. Like, let's roll out the red carpet, right? Like, let's make it nice.
Well, another thing, like, how are we gonna? Okay, you have some people that are tuned in. I understand this. They have the means to communicate, but are specialized like communication systems going to be integrated eventually to where a person who doesn't have that ability can still hear this person speaking to them?
I think
or communicate.
They may have some suggestions of technology, like human technology, to do that, but I think they'll bring their kit in a way. Like the way I see it, and I would like this to go down, is that you have this private, semi-private, because there's going to be some cameras and recording, like physically in the building, right?
Yeah.
For that very first meeting. And like I said, like the host nation's probably going to have a heavier representation at the table, or all the representation. And the idea is to have big screens out and to have recordings, audio, visual inside the room at that meeting, so that the whole world can see in a traditional mainstream way. That's how, like us being the alliance, that's how we see that first contact. So everybody can be a witness of what's going on. It's not a closed door thing, even though it is enclosed in a building. That may or may not be agreeable by the host nation or whoever. That's going to need to be negotiated, right? But that's how we would do it, using our own tech.
Yeah.
But I think ETs, they want to have a conversation with the whole of humanity. They don't want this to be like a backroom kind of discussion. So even if it ends up being no cameras allowed, for example, or no recording allowed kind of situation, they can rebroadcast the whole thing into our own minds, like 8 billion minds, if they want to. That's what I mean by bringing their own kids. Like, look, okay, you want to play this game? Like, make it private so that you can get like private messages. Like, okay. It's like everybody's going to know everything at that meeting. Like, that's what I'm thinking. They can play that game way better than us. Like, if their intention is to make sure everything is transparent, they can make it so. Like, they don't need to bring in technology. They have it from orbit, like from everywhere. And we're going to know what we need to know. They've been waiting this long for things to happen. They have a plan. And I don't think the plan is like select few people will have conversation with them and everybody else is going to be left in the dark. I don't think that's the plan.
Exactly.
And because that's going to create major problems.
A division, and they don't want division. They want unification.
Yeah. Hey, imagine humanity that knows this is happening and everything happens in closed doors. The speculation, the division, like imagine social media going on, like all people kind of saying like what's really happening. It's going to be a mess, going to be dangerous, it's going to be a big problem if that happens that way. People are going to speculate all day long. Even if it's broadcasted in their own brains, still going to have fringe members of society that are going to speculate. It's like, oh, like the message I got is not really real. It's like everybody, like you can't get away from it. But they can make it as clean and clear as possible. And it's not going to be using our tech that's going to work as well. Because people are going to have doubts. People don't trust humanity. And they certainly won't trust the ETs.
It depends on who comes first, I guess. If it's which I know it's going to be someone who wants good, because why? If you could wipe out the entire planet anyway, and you've been watching us for millions of years or whatever, they could have done this a long time ago. But they chose to let us evolve, let us grow and evolve into what we are now. But what do you think makes humanity ready now, ethically, technologically, for this level of openness?
It's actually our technological and scientific advancement that make this possible.
Okay.
And I have to explain this, but it's not complicated to understand, but there is some thought to it. A long time ago, like a few thousand years ago, we had direct interactions with them. And that's where a lot of stories come from, right? In mythology. So we had, but that's a long time ago. We didn't record things very well. And then they left to our own devices because it created religion and division and problems. At least that's what the ancient stories and texts say, right? And the channelers today, they say that too. That's why they wanted us to evolve in our own ways. That's a very benevolent, beneficial type of attitude. It's like, look, we're a problem when we're with you because you're figuring stuff out and it creates all this division. We're going to go away. You figure stuff out. We'll try to guide you, nudge you from the sidelines a bit.
Okay.
Send you messengers and guides and prophets and whatever, right? And then later on, at the age of apocalypse, and that's what a lot of the texts and the stories talk about. Apocalypse means revelation.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
From
changed.
yeah. So at the age of apocalypse, we'll be back. Okay. And so a lot of cultures have a message like that in the old stories. So the age of revelation, what does it mean? Age of revelation means an age of understanding. You understanding the universe. You understand things. Well, that is understanding the universe is the domain of science. You're measuring. You physically say, okay, now we understand how this works, how this works, how this works. Now we're at a time where we understand genetic engineering. We're able to create life. So now we can understand how ETs long time ago may have created us or created life, created things.
Could this ET embassy be like our generation's version of the pyramids, or like a signal to the stars that we're here?
Well, I think conceptually, this is going to be the third temple.
Okay.
Okay, like this is it's a word, right? It's not a temple, like
it's a meeting,
in a modern term. But the first and second temple from the old books was a place when humanity met with God, or met with Elohim. Elohim in ancient Hebrew, which is in a lot of texts, means those who came from the sky. It's plural.
Mm-hmm.
You met people that came from the sky. In South America, they have a different word. They met with their creators, were multitudes, and they'll be back later when we have enough understanding. Now that we are understanding the universe more, we're less primitive and we're less prone to see them as gods, like in a religious belief sense, because, oh yeah, travel between the stars. I understand that's possible. I understand this. Genetic engineering, sure, it's all around us. We're doing it ourselves. Cloning, drones, AI. We understand those things now. So when they come and say, hey, like, we're not gods, we're just like super advanced, and here's what we can do. And they do magic, right? We say, like, no, it's not magic. It's just I don't understand the technology. So our advancements in science in time, our progress in science and understanding of the universe allows us to have the right mindset to see them as people that are advanced, not as, oh my gosh, we have to create a new religion and we have to pray and bring your fruit. Like, we're beyond that because we understand how who they are.
Yeah, it's not like caveman meeting the guy with fire, and bowing before him. We know who they are. We know what they can do. We're communicating now with them equally.
As equal. And that's what they want. They want us to be at that stage, as the revelation stage, enough that they can have that kind of interaction with us versus what they used to have where, oh my gosh, like, gods. And second point, it was really important, because we had that level of understanding enough of science in 1945-ish, when we split the atom. We already had enough understanding to see ETs like, that's not God. That's ET. But we were way too destructive, and we still are today. So that's the second concept. They need to see that we're mature enough not to blow each other up when contact happens. That's the second stage. So that's been ongoing for 80 years. Like, since the moment of revelation.
Where we blow each other up after contact happens. Like, that's not my impression of good contact.
That's not good contact. They can be super benevolent and say, here we are, here's our history, here's what happened before a little bit, and this is what we plan to do for you. And they leave, and then you end up with a nuclear wasteland. No, that's not good contact. No, that's bad contact. So they want to have contact when the outcome is going to be positive, and that's on us to develop the wisdom. ET is not going to be a problem. People are going to figure it out. This is not God, blah blah, right?
Yeah.
But let's not fight over them. Let's be peaceful with each other, and like, that's the waiting game we're in now. It's figuring stuff out. We still have, and you can see openly now among nations, you still have nations that have control over their population that go out and invade other nations. Or have plans to invade other nations under whatever pretext it is. Right? China with Taiwan, Ukraine and Russia. You still have some this is not the individual people. This is governments that have control of media that do stuff like that still. So they can decide like, hey, I want to control this contact. So we have to move beyond this. We're not far off from this. There's still outliers out there. We know them.
There's always going to be outliers, though.
So we have to figure our own mess and to say, okay, like now this is all figured out. We're beyond authoritarianism, that kind of phase, which we are in right now, where we're having troubles. With our economy, we don't know what to do about AI. There's all this democratization of robots and AI, and it's like people are fearful and they don't believe in democracy anymore because it's all a mess. It's all a mess, and like the powerful leading the powerless, kind of dynamic. People have lost trust, right?
Yeah.
So they look for a strong man or a strong woman to lead. That's the authoritarian bend that we're in now. We have to get beyond that thinking and into a thinking of like collaboration, peace, build new systems that are going to benefit everybody.
Oh, of course.
And that creates a platform where ETs are like, okay, now if we go there, there's no risk to themselves. That it's fine because they won't have a problem with us being ETs that are more advanced. That's old news.
Yeah,
that's going to be fine. Even now, like I think, I don't know, the last survey said or something. It's like 60 to 70% of people believe ETs exist. I mean, that seems low to me, but it's actually pretty high because if you keep the population, so I don't think it's going to be a major surprise. Because it's a high percentage out there that figure like there's something out there. There's a lot of discussion about it, but like the embassy, the ability, if we're able to get the embassy built, is a sign in itself of collaboration between nations and in the understanding that we have to have rules of engagement regarding a first contact, and it's setting down a place inside a country that's designated and everybody sees, have agreed to. And now when they come, the rules are established, and there's way less chance of conflict between us.
So if contact happens tomorrow, what messages, symbols, or emotions do we want to express mostly?
Wow, that's the first time I hear that question. That's a good one, Jay. What emotion should we have? Well, to me, like the first emotion would be an emotion of gratitude. That's my take on it.
Okay.
Reason for that is because them communicating with us is a choice. They don't have to.
True.
Number one. Number two, which is probably more important, I believe strongly their interest in us is not just like, it would be cool if they come to us. They were materially involved in our existence as intelligent beings.
Yes.
I think one or several, probably just one initially, civilization out there seeded life here using genetic engineering. And that's not preposterous. That's actually really reasonable if you think about it.
Well, it's scientifically proven. It's chromosome 2. Chromosome 2 was found to have been manipulated in our DNA by some other means that we could not do.
Yeah.
When did they say it happened? Like 30,000 years ago or something? This chromosome like split, and that was the reason why we got more intellectual capacity, but got greater.
Genetic manipulation, right?
Yeah.
It's not natural selection so much. Although natural selection, mind you, is a real thing.
Yes. We did have other humanoid races that grew out.
They survive, but that's not the same as speciation.
Yeah.
Just like creating, like a frog or a fish becoming a frog. That's like a way different. That's not natural selection. That's a
Yep.
different species altogether. Genetically, there's a lot of problems with speciation evolving naturally, even though there's a lot of camps out there. But yeah, like we are seen, I believe we are seen by some of these civilizations, or at least one, as their children. They've been waiting thousands of years for us to come progress to this day. So I have massive gratitude because I exist, because they did something in the past. Like we were there because they got involved on Earth, and they seeded life and they nurtured it in some ways. So yeah, gratitude, and their choice of meeting us and bringing us to a different level of understanding of the universe and civilization. Massive gratitude. Like that's all I can feel, and that's my case for that. Yeah.
All right. 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. What would a successful ET embassy look like in action with real visitors sharing and learning?
Okay, say that again.
What would the ET embassy look like in action?
Okay.
With the visitors there with shared learning?
Well, I think we're talking about 2 different buildings here, right? The visitors.
Yeah.
You're not talking about the tourists, I guess, right? Okay. The real
No,
embassy.
no. This is like the learning center.
Okay. I don't know. I've always imagined it to be like pretty like standard tourism spot to me. Like it's not the important thing, like for me, so I don't put a lot of thought to it.
All right.
The touristic element is definitely going to be really hot. People are going to want to see it, like going to Mecca, right? Like that's where like everything changed. So I think it's going to become big really quick.
Okay.
What kind of experiences will be had there? I think there's going to be a lot of high-tech stuff, a lot of imagination, a lot of money is going to be poured in. So it's going to be like Disneyland, right? It's going to be, I think it's going to
Very
get
innovative.
really quick, post-contact especially. But what's also going to happen, which is a bit different from the tourism aspect, is that there's a lot of great minds that will gravitate and come to this place.
Okay.
The location. So scientists, philosophers, healers, blah, blah, blah. All these individuals that are drawn to that moment in human history to gift humanity with some of their genius. I think that will develop a concept of other centers that are like research centered in the humanities, in physics, in biology, connected to the embassy, where people, the brightest minds of the planet, that don't care about their salary so much, they care about how humanity can be transformed. They'll come and attempt to have as close contact as possible with our visitors to learn from them and develop new things for us. They're gifting humanity with a bunch of fast progress, essentially. And I think that's going to be very well funded. So I think that's going to be like, tourism part is like not interesting. It's going to be big, but it's not interesting. It won't be very different from what you can imagine from normal tourism. It's just going to be big and massive. But all these other things around it, that's different, because then you're connecting with a civilization that's way more advanced, presumably a lot wiser. And I saw a comment from a person like they were bad parents. And I think that's a great comment, right? Dominators.
Dominator.
I mean, that's been discussed a lot. I agree and disagree at the same time with that comment, but it's a good one because of it. And there's a movie. It's more about God, like the concept of God, but like replace God with ETs, because that's, that is God, right?
Darn, I can't disagree with you.
The movie is called, oh my gosh, in English, because it was French in Brussels, but it's like God exists and lives in Brussels. Like that's how it's translated, right? And it's a bit of a comedy, actually.
Oh, wow.
But it shows God as being this weird, distant father that is overseeing humanity on a computer, right? And his son and daughter, because there's a daughter. It's more about the daughter in that movie. I digress. Out and to help humanity, but he's like, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna help this person, and sometimes like just like nonchalant, like, yeah, like there's a flood there. It's like, yeah, let them die. Like it's kind of like this kind of personality. So I don't think that's their attitude. It's like don't get involved. We send messengers, and then humanity messed things up every time. And the parents did not intervene to fix the problem we created. Like Christianity, for example, Jesus was inspired by an ET contact, Yahweh, right?
Yep.
An Eloha of the Elohim, those who came from the sky, the creators. We created you in our image, like you know the story.
Yes.
Right? So that was ET that created Jesus and gave him a message over 40 days in the desert, right? It's like, okay, go off, spread the message. What did Jesus specifically talk about? Love your neighbor, turn the other cheek, like all this really peaceful, at a time where everything was violent.
Yeah.
And everything was competitive, like at that time. He had this message that created a lot of problems for the Romans who were leading the area. He was crucified because he created too much trouble talking about peace. Okay. And then later on, a religion comes off of that made massive wars. And that twisted that message to say, yeah, you should persecute the gays. You should attack the Muslim because they don't believe the same thing. You should grab the territory. Like, that's not Jesus, okay?
No.
That's not the ETs talking. But the ETs let that corruption of the original message happen.
Well, you have to grow. You have to
humanity do their thing and corrupt it, and they just brought more profits in different areas and tried not to be too involved. And does that mean that they're a bad parent? Yes and no, kind of. Like, what do we know? Like, we've never done this before. Have they? It's a discussion. I don't know.
We're not gonna know if they were bad parents until we're put in the same situation.
Yeah, and here's a thing. Okay, I've read some old interpretations of old stories, right, and some people channeling and talking about this period.
Okay,
I think, and from those stories, and what happened is that they were involved initially, and they were trying to be good parents. And they were themselves, like, they had their own trouble in fights with each other, and that's part of the story, the mythologies, right?
Yeah.
And it created problems. And humanity treated them as gods, and religion started, and they saw that humanity had contact with some of their technology, and we started misusing the technology because we're primitive, and they figured, we want to guide them all the right way. We're there physically on Earth.
Yeah,
and they're messing stuff up, and we're guiding their whole psychology and because of our presence. I think that's why they left and took a different tactic, because it wasn't trying to be a good parent that was like was not working.
Yeah, I think it wasn't either, because we would always see them as all omnipotent and blah 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 because of it's not because they are, it's because their technology, because they're so much more advanced than us. That's what happens.
Access to that technology. Let's take the technology. Let's use something with it. But some people did bad things with the technology. It's
look,
crap.
Look what happened.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
On the original. The last thing I'm going to say, look what happened on the original movie of Stargate. Okay.
Yeah.
You had the military take this nuclear material and add it with the ore of the planet to make it more powerful. So
Yeah.
they were already doing it back then. It's like,
Yes,
I can't
I think
stand.
that's what happened. They left because they thought, okay, this is not working.
Yeah, it's gonna get out
This,
of control.
this is not good. They left. It's like, okay, like we can't be there
Yeah,
because it's a problem. So
it gets
now
out
they
of
have to
control.
watch us killing each other
Yeah,
and figuring stuff out on our own, because if they intervene, they start a bigger problem that they experienced earlier on. That's why I think they're doing the way they're doing it.
okay.
And yeah, it can be seen as bad parents because they're not intervening and while they could.
Yeah,
But are they? Like I don't know, right?
and like I said, we're not gonna know unless we're
No.
put in the same situation. That's the only time we're gonna know if that is actually the case. That they
Yeah,
were bad parents.
we're figuring things out on our own, on our own
Yep,
terms, with the cruelty, with the suffering, with
yep.
all the stuff
We're doing it
that's
to
going
ourselves
on.
right now.
We're doing it to ourselves, but we are developing our own identity
Yeah,
at a greater scale, as a humanity scale.
as a species. Yeah,
And so when contact happens officially, we are our own selves. We're not the acolytes of a deity. We are our own people speaking to another civilization as equals with our own identity. And I think that's good.
okay.
I think that's where we want to be, despite all the suffering. And we're going to still going to do stuff to each other moving forward, but hopefully with more wisdom and less of it. And throughout history, you can see the graph of suffering and death. It's been declining over the last 100 years. It's not, even though social media makes it think that we're doing more to each other. Statistically, it's actually in decline. All right, there are some spikes here and there still, but we're better with each other every year. Okay,
Yeah.
on a extrapolating curve.
Mm-hmm.
So that's encouraging. It's okay. And I think they have a lot of compassion for us because they're watching this mess, right? And they're seeing, like, and some of them probably are thinking, like, why don't we like end some of this or intervene in some cases, because this is weird, this is terrible. And the wiser among them is like, look, like, we can't. Like, it's Star Trek is a great example, right? Like, they do it. The Roddenberry talks about these stories where you have a primitive civilization that's in some of the stories, they already went through a third world war, so to speak.
Yep.
Because of contact that happened, and they got decimated. The Stargate also has some stories about that in other science fiction. And then some cases where they didn't do that, and now they're just waiting. It's like the first contact happens at the right moment, and they say you can't have contact before then because it creates a mess. Like, this is all part of our own science fiction stories. And we know this. We've experienced this on Earth too. We've had some parts of our civilization contacting more primitive parts of our civilization in the Pacific or other places. And we created religion and suffering and fighting within the primitive civilization because of our presence. The mere presence without understanding causes these conflicts, causes religion, causes all this fighting. Like, we want to have access to God, and because it can do this, I don't believe you, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, okay, like, we have to just let the suffering happen because it's worse if we're there.
Yeah, if the technology's here, people abuse it. If it's not here, it's more likely that we grow into it consciously more than abuse it.
Yeah, it's sad though, I mean, because nobody likes the suffering that happens in the wars and all this stuff. We some people pray for it, like, God, please relieve me of this suffering, of this war. But so a lot of people ask for it, but they don't intervene.
Well, I can
Not
tell
because
you,
they're cruel, but because they are benevolent. They know they intervene too early in the wrong way, and they are, mind you, I'm sure they are intervening, but in, like, nudging.
Yes, I believe they
They
are
are
too.
probably lessening some of the stuff, but in a way that we don't notice. Because
I believe they are too.
if we feel like there's an actual intervention, a direct intervention, then the bad things start happening again. It's like, now we know there's an intervention, like for sure we have evidence. Then all of a sudden, like, oh, they're doing that for their own reason. Like all the speculation starts, right? Oh, they're being good with us. No, they're trying to do that because they want this country to win against the other countries. They're taking sides, and all this stuff. Like people have a wild imagination about things, and it's like, no. We're here, waiting for you. Build an embassy, set the rules, decide amongst yourselves how this is going to go on. Make sure that it's safe for yourselves. You have the understanding, it's fine. Then we'll come and we'll follow your rules.
Yeah.
And that's the embassy project.
So where can they find you, Sylvain? And what can everyone do here to support you in your work with the ET Embassy?
Well, our main work is really in awareness of the existence of the project, because that carries weight with the politicians when we talk to them. We have currently like 31 organizations and media, and podcasts, and whatever that are supporting, and they represent about 2.2 million people. When we tell that to politicians about the project, it's not just a development project. Now they're seeing, because again, they see this as math, right? It's like, how many jobs are going to be created? So because they need to sell this to their population, which are not all on for the ET stuff, right?
Yep.
So, okay, you have 2.2 million followers that want ETs to come in total. So we say, like, Daniel actually told me part of his pitch when he said recently to one of the officials recently. He says, like, there's 2.2 million people that are affiliated, right? It's like, what if only 5% of them visit? On average, we know they spend $800 US per day when people do tourism.
Yeah.
Do the math. That's the new income that's going to come, and how many X number of jobs that are going to come if you build the embassy. And this number is just growing because it's all basically only English world. Yeah. And we started only in 2021 officially, right? So that people are like, their eyes go big. It's like, oh yeah, like that, I can sell that, right?
Yeah.
It is more sellable. So come to our website. The website is alliance4et.org. Check out the information there. There's a membership page that talks about different ways you can help. So volunteering, donations, because we're completely not-for-profit and volunteer-based. So those things, having volunteers, like manpower and money, those two things help. And just talking about it, just like referring to the website, find other organizations in different languages and different places that are aligned with our mission, and we connect with them. We grow the number of supporters, and then Danielle, we need talks like, oh, there's 3 million people, 5 million people, 10 million people that want it to be built through this organization, and we show that on our website. At some point, I was
just about to say that that the Galactic Family Podcast is a avid supporter, and on the support page for the Alliance for the Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact, we're on there as well. We support you guys as well with everything you do and everything that is coming, because it needs to happen. It does. To push us forward, it does.
It does. And it's on us, right? Like we got the money, we got the plans.
Yep.
We got a lot of contacts with politicians, like we're already, and you can call your politicians too. Like that's something. Hey, like here's a project, and take a look. Right. It starts with the extraterritoriality, which is just a decision at the political level or diplomatic level. Like here's a piece of land, and we declare it to be X.
Yeah.
The first step is really simple to do, but a country has to decide to do that, and it's a political move, so they're careful about this, right?
Yeah.
But you can pressure your government. It's like, hey, I want the embassy to be here. It's going to be a massive advantage. The country that decides to build the embassy is going to be the country that's center of the earth for a while. and it's most likely going to be a smaller country that is based on tourism in their economy, because that just makes more sense to them. The U.S. could definitely do it under Trump. Doesn't matter what you think of him.
Yeah.
He's the kind of person that would see this and say, "Yeah, sure."
Well, it'll bring in a lot of money too for
because he takes a lot of money in real estate.
Yeah.
In most advanced nations in Europe, the little add-on in tourism is not a big impact on their economy. But a country like Belize, a country like Puerto Rico is a territory, so that's a bad example. But let's say Haiti, for example, or like for them it would be massive change. They are more easier to convince for something like this. So it's much more likely it's going to be a smaller nation with a smaller economy that will get this done first. But if you pressure your own government in US or in England or wherever you are, they can be convinced. Well, it's a harder play for them because they have a lot of cards, right? But it could be in any nation. First come, first serve.
Well, we're going to do our best, being as an avid supporter and, for the alliance and everything, to get this word out so that it gets built in the U.S. because I want to go. I don't want to go to Disneyland. I want to go to the ET Embassy. That's where I want to go. So
wouldn't it be ironic? Wouldn't it be ironic if it is in the U.S., right?
Oh,
and the land designated is right next to Roswell, Area 51?
Oh, that would be a good one.
It would be ironic. It would be kind of fun. Because
that would be that's a double tourism bonus right there.
Exactly. They already have the tourism set up for it. Like everybody's kind of like in on it.
Crazy. I mean, if Trump actually did do it, that would be the ideal spot because it already has security and everything. We would just have to openly give it to their domain to control.
I mean, that's a bit of it's a fun idea. Probably if they do something like that, they decide I figure they probably want it to be closer to DC.
Oh yeah. Well, not in the middle
because it's not enough land, but nearby, and they can make that. I'm guessing here, but it could be anywhere really. Roswell is kind of a fun idea, or like near Sedona, because I know Sedona, there's a lot of people around there that are super high power. I mean, there's a bunch of spots like that. You have to have access to an airport and things like logistics, and there's a lot of spots in the States. So Trump gets whiff of this and gets a mod, because it's only a decision. It's not it's gonna cost money.
No,
people are going to pour money into it. And the original funds are already raised, so it's just a political decision. And people like him and others around Trump is not unique. There's other politicians out there that are the kind that would just yeah, sure, no problem. It doesn't cost me anything, and I think it's good. It just takes one, and then the politics are going to change, right? Whoever's elected is going to change in 3 to 4 years, whatever. But the land is there, the embassy is there. That's done, right?
Exactly. It only takes one, just like you said.
A decision. You just got to get it started. So contact the people in your country. Contact us as well. Get the word out. I mean, we got everything we need. It's just one of the countries has to decide about it, and then everything else. There's no other hurdle afterwards. There's technicalities like we talked about, the optional protocol, and these kind of things
that can be all worked out once the land is selected.
Yeah, like once the land is selected for this particular purpose, everything else is going, because now it becomes real, right? And at the UN, discussing the optional protocol in light of that embassy being built, that's not very complicated. It's like, let's talk about this, because in case something happens, so you invite countries. Not everybody needs to sign up on it. Just needs one nation, and the host nation is most likely to bring it up at the United Nations, because they'll need those rules in place for the embassy they're actually building within their territory, right? So everything else is simpler that first step is the risky step for them,
Okay.
because it's a political risk. It's like, well, what will people say? How does it impact their own career personally? And I can tell you this, Jay. When we talk with these politicians, it's usually one-on-ones,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because it's one-on-ones and there's high confidentiality is in place, they speak their mind to us as persons.
Yeah.
There's usually two stories. And this is Danielle telling me, because I don't partake in these conversations.
Yeah.
Like most of the people they eventually get in front of, they have a personal belief that this is massive, this is good. Some of them are contactees, a small percentage, but some of them are. Also, they say, like, I've had experiences, and because it's in confidence, right? So they have that, and then they tell us officially, I have to wait, or I can't do that right away. Like, they have an excuse because officially there are barriers to their careers, families, livelihoods, and things like that. So they have to be subtle in public and in their careers. They're trying to move things along a little bit. And they have to have the others to kind of like on board. And sometimes it's the atmosphere has to be there. Disclosure is important for that reason, to get people in the discussion to say, well, yeah, this is a cool idea. And then the politicians are saying, well, if most people think this is okay, we can do something like it's less risky now, right? Because as individuals, almost exclusively, they're all cool with it. They all think it's a good idea, but they're biding their time politically for the right timing, because it has to come from them.
I think it's a good idea. Like it's the right time. It's like we're either gonna have the ET embassy, and we're gonna have contact, and we're going to evolve, and we're going as a species, or we are going to destroy ourselves.
Yeah, well,
that's the way I see it. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. Our technology is developing faster than our ethical standards to control them with the mechanisms we have.
Mm-hmm. It's a continuing risk.
Yeah.
We develop more and more technologies that could be used for destructive purposes, self-destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to develop the wisdom and the collaborative attitudes as a collective to use that technology for good, and also put guardrails and protections against our own bad actors. They don't need to be nations to be dangerous.
No,
right? It could be individuals. Like some technology now, bioweapons, for example.
Mm-hmm.
People can set up a lab in their basement and do some pretty nasty stuff now. Genetic engineering is not just in the labs; it's advanced enough you can get the kits.
Yeah,
you can modify, you can experiment in your backyard. It's pretty difficult to do that, but still, like, it's not a lot of money. You can play with AI and drones and explosives quite easily, and target specific races or individuals using AI. That's a risk, right? Like at a small scale, nukes have always been a risk. There still are, more so these days because of all the international kerfuffles surrounding Ukraine war. Like we have to go beyond this. We will always have better technology that will kill us as we move forward.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're going to discover better technologies that are safer. No. We're going to get worse technology that's going to elevate humanity and potentially kill us constantly. Yes. So we have to develop the wisdom as a civilization and unify each other, not to be the same, because we're all unique individuals.
Oh yeah.
But to agree that we don't want this competitive country by country dynamic anymore. We want to have comfortable. Yes, we want to have a comfortable civilization. We want to, everybody has food and a roof, and not be stressed going to work every day so that you're like going crazy or anxious or kill yourself. Like we want a good civilization. Like people don't want complicated things. People just want to be happy and comfortable, like with simple things. This is even better than what we need. We don't even need this. We need just something simple.
I was telling people like this. I was telling people before this picture right here. This is what civilization could look like. Like it's all all open.
Yeah, it could, and it's at our fingertips right now.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a book in 2018. I published it in 2018 called Engineering Paradise. Okay. And the book, it's very simple. It just says about like we can make our own paradise. We don't need our leader. We need leadership that will allow us to flourish as individuals.
Yes.
We don't want a strong man or woman telling us what to do. We know what we want. We know what we need as individuals in our families. Don't look to a person that's going to solve your problems, because that's dangerous. That's the person that's going to press the red button.
Yeah, right.
We need to change our systems because they are old and obsolete. They drive to bad outcomes, and that's why we still have suffering today. So we need to decide to change our systems, including how we govern ourselves.
Yes.
The economy. Why do we work at all? Like, we have to ask the question with AI, especially in robotics, being very capable already. Like, let's not fear it. Let's use it. Liberate ourselves from drudgery and from suffering of work. Build a new economy that's better than what we have now, that benefits everybody. And there's a bunch of models out there. I want to discuss them.
Yeah, we actually right now. Yeah, we don't have to discuss it.
Yeah,
because
I actually an entirely different podcast, right?
Oh no. I had a couple people on from the Raelian movement. They were talking about geniocracy, paradisium, cloning tech, and we were going on and on and on and on and on. Well, we didn't get to cloning yet. That's next. I think we're doing science instead of cloning.
Yeah, well, cloning is it's not that interesting to me.
No, not me either.
But it does. It's a stepping stone because it's good. It's good to replace IVF or like a different way to reproduce. But it is a stepping stone toward immortality.
True.
And that is interesting discussion because there's a bunch of problems with that and a bunch of benefits. But yeah, the concept, like in our professional circles, because it's not just philosophical. In professional circles, because I'm a futurist, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about paradism, even though it's not the right term. It's not the same term. It's different words being used.
Yeah.
A world where money is not needed. Even Elon Musk and some of the big gurus out there that are advancing tech, they're saying like very soon, like money will be meaningless. Not because we restructure the economy to make it meaningless, but because of how we're developing AI and robotics. It leads us to that outcome automatically by default, because the value of work, right? So us working is like our time, our sweat, and that's transferred into value. AI and robotics is able to do it better, and that is solar fed and self-replicating, self-repairing, and self-updating. We are an impediment to productivity, to what we call value. So our value becomes human value, not in the production of GDP.
Yeah.
Our value is transferred, and people are afraid of it because like our value was like in the production of GDP. Like if we're raised, we get a raise or a promotion if the company makes more money because of our contributions. But now that's taken away from us, right? So the value is not that. So now people are like, why would we exist? Well, because we never existed to be a cog in the machine. We built that for ourselves because we wanted to have specialists and be hyper productive to make more stuff for everybody else. And we divided our labor in specialties, and we redistributed the outcomes in a mode of scarcity where like people that contributed value got income, so that's money, right? Yeah. But in a world where AI and robotics are better than us in productivity and GDP production, our value is our return is not because we contributed to the productivity anymore. The value is in our existence, in our participating in society at a more core level, at a more human level or a community level.
Yes.
That's where value remains, right? Because we see value in each other. So is it going to be a system where we compensate ourselves and how much we contribute to society? That sounds all right. I guess it's different. Or is it just, let's give basic stuff to everybody through the labor of our creations, our AI. And then no authoritarian can tell me what to do now because I got everything I need.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't need money anymore. This is Star Trek Federation living. If you know the story, they don't have money.
Yeah.
It's science fiction, so people can dismiss it quite easily. But Roddenberry thought about this. He thought, okay, well, we're 24th century. Okay. It's like he thought about well, there's AI, there's all this, everything is done automatically behind the scenes. Food is replicated or grown, it's abundant everywhere. You can just call on it. Hey, here's food. Here's a roof, right?
Yeah.
Here's everything. It's commodity. It's on demand. Resources are transformed molecularly from one thing to another. There's no need for mining so much anymore, so much on Earth. It's just transformed and recycled. So you say, okay, what do people do? Well, they do what they want to do. Some people want to explore space. They want to put themselves in harm's way to explore space because they're passionate about it, not because they need to earn money.
Yeah.
And the restaurateur, sometimes there are scenes where they're on Earth and people owning a restaurant. He's not doing that because he needs money. There is no money. There's a vineyard, right? Picard's parents, they have a vineyard.
Yeah.
They're not selling wine. They're giving wine. They're making wine because they like wine. They have their special touch. Robots could do it. They probably have robots all over the place in AI, but they want to do this because they like doing this and they're appreciated because they're doing that's their unique contribution to society. This is where we're headed. That's why the luminaries and some of the scientists, including myself, were saying we're heading to a world where money is not needed anymore.
That's a good thing.
This is a world we can build. It's not going to happen by magic. We're heading towards that, but we have to organize it so that everybody's able to partake in it.
I got one.
Not just the elite. Yeah, go ahead.
And I got one video to show because I always show some videos at the end of, every show. So this is a video that was sent to me from a friend of mine that said that he saw one of these organic biological entities that are programmed in the desert. This is Arizona.
Mm-hmm. It's neat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then he goes slow motion on it. And this, oh my God, it can't, I don't know. I mean, I know you can do a lot of robot stuff and fake it, but this thing is blinking and just the way it moves and walks and turns around like, you're nothing. Goodbye. I look so real.
It does look pretty convincing, yeah. But like you said, people can.
Oh
when
yeah.
it's a little bit blurry like that, it's not super crisp. You can have somebody in a mask that can blink or all that stuff. So you have to exclude these type of possibilities.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to do that with robotics, mind you, because the movement is robotics is actually pretty complex.
Yeah, that's what I thought about it. Like it could have been like a. I was telling my friend, I said, "There's always," I said things that make you go, and that's it. Because it's like you can send that to me, but gosh, there's so many things that could happen that somebody could do that, and it's like. That's where the ET embassy comes up. You have that, you showcase it. It's out in the open. It's not secret. And it's like, here we are. And
I think it's important.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's always important to have conversations. and to have have some skepticism, not jump to conclusion.
Oh,
Like,
of
one of
course.
my favorites is that somebody sees something in the sky, right? They say, "Oh, UFO," and that's true because they don't know what it is, unidentified flying
For
object.
them, yes.
Okay, fine. But then the follow up, immediate follow up is like, that's ET. No, just because it's UFO or UAP, whatever
Yeah.
acronym you want, doesn't mean it's ET. It's something you don't know. It could be a satellite, could be different things. So it's good to be skeptical. And then it's like, okay, what could it be that is not ET? Start with terrestrial explanations. You eliminate the possibilities through evidence, like video or whatever you saw, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you end up with a short list of what it could be. Then you got something, right? In very rare cases, you'll have conclusive evidence that points to ETs. There are some, though. There are plenty of that. But people jump to conclusions way too quick for my taste. This video is really cool, but I'm asking myself, okay, I don't think robotics, that's probably not it. It's really hard. You have, like, you can have a robotic head, like, that blinks and
But
things
the
like
body movement
like
and
that.
yeah.
You could do something, so that's probably way more likely. But it also could be a biological ET that was placed there and videotaped, which is same as saying it's an ET or drone or whatever. It could be that too. That's not discounted, right? And add that to the body of observations and videos of other people. It creates the right kind of conversation, saying maybe we are not alone. Maybe we are visited. Maybe they are placing these clues for us for having these conversations so we can get ready. And that's very positive, and not discounting different things. And I've seen things that are, like, even in our group, things that they've experienced themselves and we're able to tape that are extremely convincing. And since they were in the room themselves, where I was able to ask questions, right?
Yeah.
And there was only, like, there were very few explanations left at the end. That's really cool. It points to, we are interacting, we're played with a bit.
Yeah.
And if we exclude the anomalies that are explainable, there are some that are quite obviously non-terrestrial.
Yeah.
So I think that's the process.
Well, Sylvain, if you ever want to come back on this show, you already know you were on here once before. This is your second time on. I love having you on because we always have these great conversations and, like, real thought provoking. Like, some of them are like, we need this now, and some of them, we have some answers, to some of these questions, and that's where we got to start. You start answering questions, you start getting the word out, and you start small and build up, and that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. The important part is to having a conversation with positivity. Think of it like we're trying to build a future for ourselves, so we have to be positive about it. There's a gazillion ways we can think about these things negatively, but that's not useful. It's not, because we don't want the negative outcome. We want to be aware of it.
And I'll give you the final 2 minutes for you.
All right. Well, here's the thing, guys. We are very close to having a country designate the embassy. I mean, there's signs that they're willing. It's just a question of their own timing. So if everybody can contact their politician, spread the word, like spread the website, basically alliance4et.org, like for the number 4, right? alliance4et.org. Just spread the word about our existence, the existence of the project, the importance, your enthusiasm about welcoming ETs in a positive way. We can build this story, because that's the key. We're building the story of humanity here, towards contact, our politicians feeling comfortable in making the move, having the embassy built, and then building a society, building ourselves as a society that is positive, collaborative, loving. That's on us. It's all on us. They'll come. Our visitors are going to come if we do the work here. They've been waiting for us for a long time to do the work. We still have some work to do. When they come when they feel we're ready for it and that we won't blow each other up. That's it. So let's do this together.
All right, brother. You have a great afternoon for yourself, and I will have a great night. And we'll meet up and see each other again, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jay.
Hey, anytime, man. Have a great night or a great day for you.
Yeah, cheers.
Oh man, that was great. Great conversation. Always a great conversation when I have him on. The ET Embassy, that is a project near and dear to my own heart as well. Like I said, we are a proud supporter of the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact, and everyone on here is on that as well. You being a supporter of this podcast supports that mission of getting the word out, and you are a number. You matter. Your presence matters. That you are a part of this. That you are a part of something that it'll be great, because in the end, all we're really looking for is something to believe in. And I can believe in this because it'll change our whole world in a good way. So, Galactic Family, I thank you all for being here. Thank you all for tuning in. And I will I'll see you guys again sometime. We'll have some new shows coming up soon. I'm working on the calendar now, and as soon as I get these guests lined up, I have an astronaut that I'm talking to from Titan Space Industries. That just got selected for a candidacy, and I have a couple channelers, and I have a scientist, another scientist. So we've got a couple good ones coming up for you, and I will see you guys on the flip. Have a good night, guys. Love you guys.